service, and they actually approached me and said, hey, you know, we service the printers, but we know a lot of you guys don't like to touch them, but sometimes we can give you some pointers and things of how you can kind of be the first line to what?
DCS? Who?
Do you want? Doesn't matter. I don't even remember.
Okay.
Those two guys come up. There, we'll have announcements going out with details as we get closer to the dates. So I, because I didn't have somebody else to speak, I said I would speak tonight. I'm going to tell you about, I sell 3CX voice over IP phone system, and they've been doing a lot of new things lately. And actually, the whole reason that I got involved in all this stuff is this guy right there.
What?
What?
What did I do now?
No, I owe my livelihood to you. You probably don't even know it, but years ago, I don't remember how long ago, you gave a presentation, didn't you? Of like asterisk. It got me kind of excited until I realized it was Linux-based and I didn't know anything about Linux. And here I am back in Linux now. 3CX, what got me interested in them years ago, their claim to fame was they were a Windows-based PBX, where everything else was Linux-based. And so Windows was something I felt comfortable with, and that got me into it. And I've had a lot of fun with 3CX and selling it. Come on in, have a seat. And now, in the last year or so, they've actually kind of split, and they have essentially exactly the same application runs both a Windows environment and a Linux environment. Debbie, thank you. But isn't that a Linux? Or
yes.
It is.
Yeah,
it's particular. It's particular, thank you. So to be correct, it's Debian or Debian or however you say it. And then there's like other names that go along with stuff, like Jesse is a version, and then now Stretch is in the next version. So these are all things that I'm starting to hear more about. Anyway, so part of 3.6 always had like a free version of the software that they gave out for years. Now they're going a little bit further to make it easier for people to get in and try it. 3.6 is just software, and it needs a computer to run on. And what you're buying from 3.6 is a license. The license is based on the maximum number of simultaneous calls that you want to support. Typically, the smallest license starts at 4 simultaneous calls and goes up in multiples of 2, so 4, 8, 16, and on and on. Whereas I think, while I don't really sell other products, my understanding is a lot of them are based on like number of endpoints or devices that you want to have on your system. So I'm going to start on this, and I mean, you guys can ask questions, including Brad. I'll jump around. This isn't going to be extremely organized, so I hope you'll give me a little leeway, because this version that we're going to do, I haven't really gone through the steps in this fashion, but I'm going to show you how you can do it yourself. Basically, this will get a PBX in the cloud up and running with a free hosting for you for 1 year and a free license for you for 1 year. Now, what that doesn't give you is any dial tone. You need a SIP trunk to connect you to the outside world, but I'll give you a couple of providers' names where you can find lots on your own, and you can get a phone number and a dial tone very inexpensively. If you decide you want to keep this, you can port a phone number that you have somewhere else into these services. There's a lot you can do, and like I said, I'll show you the basics of how you can get up and running doing this. And if you're like me years ago, there you can have lots of frustration. Oh boy. So let's try and This company is based in Cyprus, so they're not exactly on our time zone, but they do run a support desk that supports U.S. normal working hours, kind of. And it's spelled for number 3, cx.com. So this is the starting point. Free IP PBX for 1 year plus hosting. You just fill out this little information sheet on the side, and I'll just do it here. You have to use a real email or it's not going to work for you.
Can you do it more than once?
Yes, I think so. If this works for me tonight, then the answer to that is yes. And what I learned here, by the way, I just pushed enter on this before when I tried this. I put in my zip code, and it wouldn't take the form. It's because I didn't know you have to actually click on where it finds you here with the name of the location. So there's a little free tidbit for you. Okay, so that's the starting point. We're going to kick this off. Already associated with the license key. Okay.
So the answer is no.
So now you can't do that, but I'll do it a different way. I'll do, since I use reflection, I can on the fly create email addresses. Is this going? Can't tell.
Zip code is red.
Zip code. Okay. Crossing my fingers here. Okay, so now I'm going to look for an email. Which would be this. I click on this. This is coded to me. This takes me here. So there's a license key there, and there's 3 links here. I mean, you don't have to use their free hosting. You can take one of these other ones if you want to supply the host yourself. Well, I'm going to use this last one, let 36 host for you. Okay, so this is the starting page of the configuration. It's just going to walk you through. It's already pasted the key in. Was that my key? Yeah, so matrix. Okay, create new. That didn't look like what I expected. Bear with me. Oh, okay. This was the failed attempt with my first email address. This is the second one. Let's try that. Okay, so this is into familiar stuff because all the installs basically go the same from this point, I believe. I think what's going on this page is if you're doing this on your own and you want to get more into this stuff, you need a URL, FQDN, for your server, and for security you need a certificate. If you follow my pattern here, I'm not sure in here if they give you an option. Basically what they'll do is they'll give you a domain name. You can tailor it with the first level name, but it's off a 3CX domain. and then they take care of the certificate, and so it's all neat and clean and easy, and you don't have to worry about it. So at the bottom here, they're saying select the domain. So there's different state names here, or if you're in a different country, you can pick a different country. I'm just going to pick 3cx.us. And what you put in the first line is going to be your first level. Like instead of www, it would be like amcc.3cx.us. Okay. If you think you're going to wind up, these things never really show publicly. They're used for internal stuff, so they're not real important. It's just they have to be unique. I'm just going to pick, say, this. This is essentially for me a throwaway, but you do have to make some selection there. And if it's not unique, they're going to come back and tell you pick something else. Here you're saying picking the number of digits you want to use for your extension numbers, whether you're going to be 2-digit, 3-digit, 4-digit. I always go with 3-digit, unless you have an organization that has like 1,000 extensions. You probably want to use something bigger. I think 2 looks kind of dumb. I think 5 looks dumb unless you're, you know, Microsoft or something like this. But this is a choice you make. This choice cannot be undone later. Just so give it some thought on your way. Okay, cloud platform, we have one choice here. We're going to pick Oregon apparently. This is in the Google Cloud, and then I'm going to click finish. We got some kind of countdown going on here. Arrival time, oh boy. So it's doing stuff like creating DNS record and certificate. That's the kind of thing that's going on right at the moment. So it looks like it's assigned me a password and an IP address. Well, now would be a good time for some chit chat or something. This is really going to take 9 minutes. Wow.
It says 1 year.
Yes, go ahead.
1 year, can you, like if you were setting it up as a trial on somebody, can you renew that 1 year?
Oh, absolutely. But
So you just
it won't be free when you renew it.
You just buy the license.
Buy the license. Yeah. Yes.
If the company is already using the mobile apps, can we install it? Is one of those options to install it on the
Yeah, you can put it on a different cloud base that you control or manage. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what they charge on this after you get past that year?
I have no idea. I use a hosting service, gives you a Linux instance that I think they raised the price recently. I was paying like $3.49 a month. I think it might be $4 or something now. It's called OVH. 3.6 works pretty easy with that. And it's pretty flexible.
I think Paul just told me tonight that he's been using this $5.15 with, that's his cost with a SIP trunk.
Yeah, 3.6 in their SIP trunk templates, just like in a couple days ago, I saw they had OVH listed, which was new.
I don't know who he's using, but he said that all told it was $5.15.
Yeah, SIP trunk, if you're not doing high volume calls, it costs you almost nothing. Kevin, a couple of years ago, I showed him how to set up SIP trunk for his landline at home and just put it on.
Yeah, that was callcentric.net, and I think my monthly bill is $3.11.
Oh man, I'm paying $3.14.
By different
Good
taxes,
call.
different taxes, he's in Kentucky.
Yeah, but you're using a private county, it's sales tax.
No.
Yeah.
Basically,
Ohio versus-
you know, like I use a couple different SIP trunk providers. One that I use a lot is called Vitality. Some of these have like basically flat or unlimited use type of things where you pay a flat dollar a month, like $25 a month or something like this. Most of my customers are not giant minute users, so we get plans that are paid by the minute. You pay basically some amount of money just to rent a phone number. It's like $1 a month or $1.50 a month, and like maybe a penny a minute or 1.5 cents a minute. So if you're using what I call more moderate usage, your monthly bills are pretty light. Yeah.
What does the ideal client look like of 436?
That's a good question. Let me just show you, since you asked. So thank you, by the way, for that question. See if I can find.
Or for instance, among your clients, what type of business, what size of business makes the most sense?
So this is some of the companies that use 3CX. 3CX scales.
I've checked that out, you know, when we were doing the due diligence for Crusoe. And Pepsi, they're doing international. Now they're running a cluster, you know, but it supports that.
Yeah.
So you can set up high availability, but more and more companies that I'm running into, and I gotta say, for Crusoe, they just love it. They said they've never had a phone system that is this trouble.
Yeah, we just implemented a system for Russo, the Eric this past year. But 3CX, because the pricing and just the service and so forth, scales from, I would say, 2 phones to thousands of phones on a single server, and then you can bridge servers together. The largest license that's sold currently is 1,024 simultaneous calls. So that license on a single server will support many more phones than that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, you know, I'm a one-man shop, so I can't support Pepsi. Somebody else can, but I have customers in hundreds.
Oh, but you manage it.
That I manage.
You manage it for
Yeah.
them.
And the beautiful thing about this, for me as a business model, is I have customers all over the country that I've never been to their office, I've never expected to. And I don't need to. I can do it all remote. I can, you know, somebody can set up a VM for me if they want to host it on premises. I can do it in the cloud. I can drop ship phones. Basically, all they need someone on site just to unbox them and plug them in.
Now, is this something that you could, since it's cloud-based, have users in Africa and then like users up in Paris, and it's just a local call between the two of them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just using data
Okay.
to track. I mean, especially talking between servers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I just was.
You know, I travel sometimes, and there's a mobile app for 3CX. It runs on Android, it runs on the other one. What do they call it? iPhone.
Does it run on a laptop as well?
There's a soft phone runs on a laptop. It also runs on a Macintosh or whatever, it's an Apple computer. So it'll use like your data plan or use Wi-Fi. So I can go, if I'm out of the country and I have access to Wi-Fi, you know, I can call back to the U.S. or people can call me, and it's like making a local call here. There's no international bill for that call.
Okay.
How about reliability? Who are you using for internet connectivity? Make a difference with Spectrum or Bell or that kind of stuff?
And on top of that, QoS, how is that managed?
All right, so when you, now first of all, 3.6 doesn't require internet. You don't have to use voice over IP. You can connect to legacy or analog phone lines, PRIs, POTS lines. So there's that option, and some customers go with that. I mean, that's what you guys have.
Crusoe has PRI until we dump. Because Bell charges more for a SIP than they do for PRI. So an equivalent number of, oh yeah. Spectrum, on the other hand, is just the opposite. So Bell still thinks they're a monopoly. So
That's my line. I've used that.
So we just.
They are.
So when you have something where you really want to have reliability, use PRI lines or use something that's.
It depends. I mean, if you have quality internet connection.
I mean, there are providers who will give you SIP trunks with QoS guarantee over fiber, and they'll drop it. You know, it just depends on what you want to pay for.
They want you to use their router and that kind of stuff for the connectivity.
Well, it depends on who you're dealing with, right? So, I would think that you would want some kind of business class connection.
Yeah, I mean, if you want
to do fiber, no matter what I'm doing. So.
It's, you know, it has to fit and balance to the customer. I mean, yeah.
Is there a rule of thumb with 3CX for upload speeds from a dedicated fiber perspective for a number of concurrent calls?
Well, I mean, there's math involved. Basically,
So what's the math?
You know, to be conservative and use round numbers, you figure like 100 meg per call path.
100 meg upload per call path?
Well, you're talking in both directions, so, you know, if it's
100K.
100K.
All right,
Yeah.
100K.
Thank you.
100K.
That's my fact checker, thank you. 100K. Yeah, not 100 meg.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I started out as an actuary. We round to millions. So yeah, 100K.
100K per call path.
Yeah. So you know, if it's not symmetric, you want to look at the upload speed. If that's the lower one, and you want to base on that. Make sure you have adequate overhead there.
In an ideal world, yes, metric and class of service, like we talked about.
Yeah. So yeah, 100K.
Watch videos until your phone.
Now, once you get into this stuff,
Yes.
there's a term that you learn right away called codecs. Codec is like compression algorithm, and if you have communication problems or issues you're trying to deal with, there's different codecs you can choose that compress the data more and have less requirement than 100K. But you know, there's a trade-off for that. You may not have quite the same fidelity if you're going with these things. But that's more like down, a little deeper dive into it. So I'm sure 10 minutes have gone by now. And it says done. So we can log into the management console, log into the 360. So if you're doing this on your own, you want to take note of a couple things here. You want to take note of the IP address. Well, that and the FQDN, they're both going to resolve to the same thing. And the login name, which the default is admin, and the password, especially the password. Because I think if you go off the screen, I'm not sure, there may be a portal that you can log into, retrieve it. I'm just not sure because I haven't tried to. Okay, I try to go with sure things. So I'm going to click into the management console. So,
Do they support two-factor authentication to that? Do you know?
not presently. So this is admin, and I believe I copied the password. So this is the administrator console of a new server. It's ready, has no extensions defined yet or SIP trunks. You see a couple things in red. These are easy to deal with. Oh, we have a dynamic IP. Okay, that's interesting.
This isn't yours, is it?
Well, it is now.
No, it's CiNPA's. No, I meant your phone server.
I just created this.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was over there busy with Kevin.
Okay. Well, you want me to start over?
Please. I'll watch the video later.
So let me do something here just for my own reference here.
Lock it, Brad's phone.
Is that a problem with the dynamic IP?
No, 3CX will work with, it used to not work, but it will work with the dynamic. It's not what I would call a business class situation, because if your IP address changes, there's going to be some time lag before their DNS reflects it, and your calls aren't going to work then.
So the IP is required, you couldn't use a DNS name or anything?
Beg your pardon?
The IP is required, you can't use like a DNS name?
No, you should use a DNS name.
Okay.
And that was what I created was, I forget what it was.
amcc.3cx.us.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what you should use. So what we can do here, to actually get this to do something. So this screen we're on now is the top node here. This is dashboard. If we want ready to add some extensions, we go to this screen, which says extensions, just click add. Now, the mobile or soft client is considered an extension, and then physical desk phones are also extensions. So I want to check on something here, because I don't know how they calculate this. There's a place in settings to define an SMTP server so that this can send out emails. And okay, so they've done it with theirs, 3CX SMTP server, so we can just go with that. And I think in this version, that's the only choice, because this will give me a red circle with a line through it. If you're doing like a regular full license, you have some other options here. You can use your own SMTP server here also. But this is set up, that's what I want to see, so that I know next steps can work. So I'm going to create an extension here, and I'm going to give it 101, because I don't like 001. I'm going to call it Alan. I'm going to put in my email address, put in my mobile. So these are credentials here that it signs the authentication. So if I have a mobile device, I need to get those credentials into the mobile device. If I have a desk phone, I need to get those credentials into the desk phone. We don't need to copy these things down and then transfer them somewhere. There's easier ways to do it, but just showing you this information that it's important. Now, if I go over to this phone provisioning tab, it's already provisioned for the 3.6 client. So that takes a couple shapes. One is the mobile app for mobile phones. The other is there's a Windows app that can be a phone like on a laptop, like, you know, think of Skype as a dialer, whatever. So this is pre-populated stuff. I'm just going to click OK, and now this extension has been created. The next step I'm going to do is up here it says send welcome email. This will do that. So I just clicked on that. Hopefully an email will be showing up soon. There it is, welcome email. So give me some information. This is 101, it's extension I signed. This is my voicemail pin. It's telling me how to access email system. Do some other things we'll get to if we have time later, but not going to worry about that right now. So say I want to now get the mobile app on my phone. I get the same email on my phone, and then I scroll down here somewhere, There, Windows, Mac, Android, iOS. So I install the app on this phone. That gives me the program, but it doesn't have my credentials in it. It's just the program, yes.
Do they have a Windows phone app?
A what?
A Windows phone app?
A what?
A boot?
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
No.
It's just a Windows
This
desktop.
is a product that's designed to try and generate revenue.
So it's a desktop. Okay. I thought the same thing.
Years ago, when Windows Phone had, when Kevin still had Windows Phone.
When Bill Gates still had it.
Yeah.
What?
Then 3CX had talks about, yeah, we may get to that,
Just switch.
but time has shown that it wasn't really a profitable direction for them to go. So I can click on this, and that just gets the software on here, but it doesn't have the credentials, so I don't have any connectivity. So what you want to pay attention to is the email has an attachment to it. And so this is specific to my extension. And once I get the app on my phone, then I go back to the email and just open this attachment. That populates my phone with the credentials to give it its identity.
Populates your PC with.
Or your PC. Yeah, whatever platform.
Did you choose a Windows?
Yeah, there's the Windows thing, there's all the extensions I have on mine.
So I'm going to, and by the way, since I support lots of systems, my app can have many different systems profiles on it. So once I'm in the app, I can go say, okay, switch to this other PBX. I mean, if you're just doing one, that's not important to you, but so I'm going into my email, and just trust me what I'm doing, because I don't have it on the screen. I wasn't worrying about that. And for some reason, on some phones, when you save the attachment to your phone and you go to open it, it gives you the choice at the bottom of the screen. At the top it says open with, and it shows you what program you want to open with, and you want to look for the 3CX program, but it's not going to be there. Okay, some phones it'll be fine, I'll just open it. So then you need to go to one of these file manager apps, you know, freebies from the App Store. So you detach the attachment from the email to your phone, then go to a file manager. And from there you can open it, and it'll know, you get a chance to tell it to put it in 3CX. So I'm going to go here, find my file manager thing, and I'm using one called FC, kind of like in soccer, FC File Commander. And then go to my downloads folder, and there it is. I just hit it. Okay, not that app. Instead do I lied. I'm using a different file manager because FC one didn't really do it for me. It's called ES, something like File Commander. Now, I'm waiting here. It says it's registering. I hope this works.
So you can touch on how you egress out from the cloud to make the call, you know, so you have the PBX in the cloud, right? So how do you get it out to like a, I don't know, desk line or, you know what I'm saying? You said you need
to
a
talk.
PR.
You mean to use it to talk on?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know if I'm asking it right.
All right. Well, let me say this,
Okay.
because I'm not sure where you're going, but one of these two guesses probably I'll cover it. What I'm going to show you. Okay. Now it says on book, so I connected. So what I can do here, I can't call anybody because I have no phone service connected to it. I can do, here I got my little gadget here. This is like a speaker. Bluetooth speaker. Let's see if this will work. Hello? 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 Okay, so I've just taught you one of the test tools, if you're working with 3CX, star 777 is a special code that is called an echo test. So this connects a registered device to the server, and I'll let you know if you have two-way communication just from that device to the phone server. Okay, so that hasn't got me out to the rest of the world yet, but this is just step number one to prove that I'm talking to a PBX that's hosted in the Google Cloud. Okay, now, none of that costs anything. So I'm going to go log in or go back to my management console here. Here we have, it says SIP trunks. This is getting to what you're asking about. So if you had like PRI or POTS line, you have like some physical device, it's a gateway between that and your LAN, and then it gets added into here. So we have like at Caruso, we have a device called, it's a patent device, it's a gateway for a PRI. We just go add trunk, well add gateway, and it takes us through. I'm adding a SIP trunk, and I just click on that. I'm going to say my country is US. Now, with 3CX, whether you're talking about hardware or gateways or SIP trunks, all these different things, the third-party stuff that 3CX didn't make, but they're in business to sell their software, so they want it to work with as much stuff as they can, but they can't support the world. Okay, so if we go to SIP trunks, there's a list of quote supported SIP trunk providers in the U.S., and they have templates that tend to make this stuff work pretty easily. If you have a problem, you can call 3CX. Doesn't mean if you have some XYZ SIP trunk provider that's, my daughter, you should call now. Doesn't mean, that maybe your brother-in-law has this business, you're trying to help him out, you want to buy your SIP trunk from him. It's a good chance you could use it. You have to go and look for like a generic option in these drop-downs, and then, it's the Wild West. If you and him can make it work, more power to you. If you have a problem, don't call us, okay? Select provider for my country. I'm going to use Vitality, and I set up a number which, I printed this piece of paper up. I think I left it at home. So that's not going to help. I think I have.
Alan, I think you mentioned Vitality last time you did one of these presentations. Is that kind of your favorite pick?
I use them a lot. I like them. They have some nice features.
They run some really good specials, for people who use 3CX or even some of the other packages out there.
So things that are helpful to me, like 3CX has a built-in fax server, only for inbound faxes. I've never used it. I tried fooling with it a little bit at the beginning to see if I could get work. Sending fax over T38 protocol over internet, to me, is not easy, and I need it to be easy. I need it to be reliable. So, and I need it to be two-way. I mean, people that use faxes want both ways. So, not that they're the only one that does this, but Vitality has a fax solution that's using different communication protocol that you know, if you need a legacy fax machine, you buy an adapter from them and it takes care of it and it works. I don't have anybody using them in real high volume, but I have them using an average volume and it works fine for them. Also, there's pricing models, both on the voice and the fax, that for, unless you're like a huge volume user, they're advantageous. So for faxing, you just pay for per minute of connect time. It's like 3 cents a minute. You know, how many minutes you have to use for a month before it adds up to much money. I mean, I've got to, you know, I threw these numbers around. You know, if you've heard me talk before, you probably heard some of these, but I know I have some newer faces here. I've got a church on the west side, the east side. It's a pretty sizable church, almost as big as where you hang out. But they have a lot of phones there. They were paying like $650 a month to Cincinnati Bell just for landlines on their old phone system. They have something like 50 phones. Pardon?
That's just 2 phones.
They have 50 phones on their network there. They're down now, they're paying $50 a month. They're just not like, it's not a call center. They're not people just hanging on the phone all the time. They're just saving a lot of money. So, I think I said this already, but just to come back. You can go to Vitality, you go to other providers and say, like, I need 8 lines. You know, what's it going to cost you? And they'll quote you something like $20-some a month times 8. And you're paying for all that whether you're using it or not. This is like the old model, like from Cincinnati Bell, when you had physical landlines coming in. You have to buy the maximum that you need during the year and pay for it all year long, whether you're using it or not. That'll work with 3CX, but some of these providers do, they don't have the concept of lines. You just have an account, and they'll give you as much call paths at a time, just on demand as you want. So then your ceiling, if you will, or limiter is the license that you have with 3CX. You have a 4 simultaneous call, 8 simultaneous, 16, whatever. That's going to set the limit. It won't be how many pipes you have coming in from your provider.
But you will pay per minute for each one.
Oh yeah, for as many minutes of each person talking, whether they're at the same time or different times, it just add up the minutes. Okay, I was looking for my cheat sheet here.
So 3CX is a usage-based model based on every call is a local call.
3CX, their licensing is based on simultaneous calls. And internal call, extension to extension, is a call. So it isn't necessarily just a person connected from inside to outside. It's any two endpoints.
Any phone call.
Yeah.
But the only thing you're going to pay for is the phone calls.
Right. Internal, there's no cost. Internal. If you have like a server in San Francisco and a server in Miami and a lot of bridged communication between the two, there's no call cost for those.
Yes, yeah.
Well, yeah. If this is VoIP, you're going over your internet. If it's bridged, it means there's a data connection between the two locations.
You can do dial plans and everything like that, right?
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, I set up a DID in my Vitality account here, and I'm going to create a SIP trunk here. So here's my number. Sometimes these things are pre-populated for you, or sometimes you have a provider and you just know what they are. So I know what this is here. This is my server at Vitality that I connect to. And with this type of communications with your SIP provider, there's 2 choices in how you authenticate to them. In most cases, you have a static IP address for your PBX, and you just go into your SIP provider's portal and you tell them, this is where I'm going to be, this IP address, and then they're done. They accept any traffic coming from that IP address as being authenticated. Since we're in an environment here that I don't control or manage, I don't have a static IP address, and actually, we're not really working from here, we're working from the Google Cloud. I wanted to have a higher probability this might work for me tonight. So the other option is using authentication credentials. So but then with your SIP provider, you have an account or a sub-account in Vitality's terminology, and there's just a username and password associated with that. Any PBX that sends those username and password will be accepted from them, regardless of what IP address they're coming from. So so down here, it says do not require IP-based. That was the first scenario that I described. So I'm going to change that and say register account based. And I have set up a name here. That credit stands for credentials, so I remember it. And I have a password, which I'm not going to show you. By the way, there's a little eyeball out here to the right. You can click on that. That will reveal these passwords when you're managing a system and you need to look for something. So if I just click OK, that should create this guy. And hopefully, if things go well, that red dot should turn green. Feature not available in 3.6. Oh, maybe not. Failed. Okay, timeout. Maybe I didn't remember the password very well. Oh yeah, that was a completely different password.
No wonder why it wouldn't work.
Yeah, that's why I outsmart myself. At least I wrote it down.
And could you not give it a demonstration?
Well, I can still talk past this even if it didn't work. I have experience doing that too. Okay, now click OK. Ah, beautiful. I love when things work. So, now.
That tells you when it's flooding.
This gives me like a communication link to the outside world, but I have to do a couple more things to be able to use it. So we have inbound rules and outbound rules. So if there's no outbound rule, you're not getting out. You can call other extensions, but that's as far as you can go. You should remember, if you're using Citrons too, that they don't know where you are physically and what your physical area code is where you are. So if you're calling from 513 to 513 and you're used to dialing 7 digits, it's not going to get you your call. So you'll see what I'm talking about in a second here. So I'm going to create outbound rules. I'm going to call one long distance. So there's different choices here. Calls to numbers starting with prefix. You know, some businesses are used to dialing 9 before their number to get an outside line. And of course you don't need to do that in here, but if you want to make them happy so they don't have to retrain themselves, you can make a rule that somebody dials a 9 at the beginning number, it will take it, it'll strip the 9 off and send the rest out to your provider. calls from extensions. So you can just say, you only want this group of extensions to be able to use this rule. You know, maybe you don't want some people calling long distance or international, whatever. You can block them that way. Okay, I'm going to say calls to numbers with a length of, not 7, 10. I could also do 10, and this depends on your SIP provider, by the way, how they respond. I'm going to say 10 or 11, because I know Vitality will take the call and make it correctly with the 1, the country code in front of it, or without the 1. Okay? But you need to know that or check it out. So I'm going to make a route and say I want to go with Vitality. And I don't have to strip any digits, and I don't have to prepend anything for these calls. So I'm going to click OK. So now, if I make a call here, and it's 10 or 11 digits, and I'm going to use my app, and if everything works well, and I know you're going to recognize this. Call failed. Whoa.
Well, there you go.
What happened?
We do recognize that.
That's why we call you.
Well, let's try it with 11 digits. Maybe.
It's a new year at Vitality.
Call failed. Okay, well, troubleshooting mode. What did I do wrong? Let's check the one. Let's take a detour here. Let's set up an inbound rule. So, not everybody, but one person in here. Could you, if you have a mobile phone, dial this number 257-0006 and see if
0006.
6.
I got to echo, sorry. 0006.
Yes. Not working.
It's ringing. There it goes.
Okay, so inbound's working. Hello?
I hear you.
I'm in a meeting. Okay, so not a complete failure. Not sure what I got. I wonder if.
You did create your extension, didn't you?
Yeah. Let me check something. I don't know if you need this for the soft phone.
Do you have to do that Google crap where it pushes to you?
Beg your pardon?
The Google crap where it pushes to you? The Google stuff where it pushes to you?
That's for inbound, not outbound. The problem I've had was outbound. And they've got that built in now, to answer your question.
Okay.
Refer to it as push.
So here, Doug?
Just go back and see if you type something wrong there on the rule.
The rule?
Yeah, on the outbound rule.
Calls from.
Oh, there's a minus in there. That's wrong.
See, Alan?
I thought I was doing a comma. Once, that probably isn't the problem, but.
That might be one of them.
Thanks for calling the Fox ID now. McCluskey.
So that was just 10-digit rule. Now, what I'll do, just I'll say a local, and I'll say calls with the length of 7, and I'll come down here. I don't want to block calls. I want to go to Vitality. I want to prepend 513. Okay. Now you notice there's other routes possible. So this could be in a case where you have more than one kind of trunk available, and you want to have a provision if like one is at capacity, you want it to roll to like the second, maybe more expensive trunk, or if one's down for some reason. So you can just prepare this ahead of time, and so you have multiple routes available. So I'm going to click OK. These things, if it matters from a logic stand, process in order from top to bottom. In these two cases, these are mutually exclusive, so it doesn't matter. But now I should be able to just dial 7 numbers. And that didn't work.
Probably minus 9 again.
But I didn't. Pretty sure. Maybe I
can't say that, can't help that.
Okay, I don't think this is it, but I'm just going to try it because we're trying not to waste time. Well, I mean, I've proved I can make a call. I'm not going to worry about this right now. Now, this is pretty simplistic, what I've shown you so far. I mean, I had an inbound rule that just sent the call right to my extension. And if you're running an organization a little bigger than just one phone, what did you do, Walter? We supposed to
time out or something?
all right, this thing clicked off. I think it's powering up based on this little screen here. I see light blinking. We're about 40% on this bar.
Might be a good time to change the tape out then, because I'm running low
Yeah,
on
we did
space.
this for you.
That's a good point.
More calls coming in at a time, and we have people at phones able to handle them all at once. It keeps the people waiting in the queue. Instead I send them a voicemail. I mean, you've all heard this when you call AT&T or whoever. You usually don't get a live person immediately. You're in the queue. And this queue it has parameters on it you can use, like announce the person's position in the queue, where they are. You can give them a callback option, press 1 and we'll call you back when your place in the queue comes up.
Now, does that chew away at the simultaneous call license? If you have,
Beg your pardon?
Does that chew away at the simultaneous call
Well, if
license?
you have those people have all called in and they're connected to the PBX, those are each a call.
All right.
Yeah. PBX's function as an endpoint at that point until it's transferred to somebody.
Call queues aren't as advanced as a full-blown ACD, though, right?
I can't hear you.
The call queues aren't as advanced as a full-blown ACD, are they?
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
ACD is what handles the call queue when you call up big companies.
I think it's
It's
that is
pretty
the
well
same thing.
advanced.
I think it's it. Yeah,
These do the same.
it's the same thing. This has some neat features.
How advanced is the ACD router?
You can make it as advanced as the enterprise version. Pepsi's using it, American Express is using it.
It has like many different options for
Lumber based
call
internet,
distribution.
Oil and gas, that's, I mean, they're using it, I would think so.
It has a lot of options. Like, I mean, I forget what they're all called. Here, I can show you.
The enterprise license actually has more advanced call.
Here, let me log into mine and.
Does it have that feature where it asks you what is your account number or whatever, and then when it transfers you to a human, they still ask you for it again.
We can do that.
Or the music on hold until they drop.
Well, I guess
the call.
that's a good question, though, right? Does it pass character to a screen?
Yeah, because apparently the ones that I call don't, because they always ask you for it. They won't let you continue until you do it. Then after you do it, you still have to tell them what it is. It's just like, I already put it in the system. Well, it doesn't give us that.
If you want a phone, try Cricket Wireless customer service.
So this has integration with many CRM systems. So out of the box, I mean, if you use Outlook, say, it'll integrate with Outlook. You can have click to dial from your Outlook. It'll dial a phone for you. If you have incoming calls, it'll do a lookup of the caller ID and match it to your contact list and open up your contact page for that caller. It works with a number of commercial, like Salesforce, these kind of things. There's APIs, you know, if you have some like proprietary CRM, you want to grow your own, they have the APIs where you can do that. There's something else called like CFD, I think, called Flow Designers, where if you want to design one of those menu systems that asks for input from the customer, like a customer number or area code or something like that, zip code, you can design this. And I really haven't done any of these, but it's a tool that's available. I'm just going to show you on the queues, since we're talking about it. So like this thing called polling strategy. These are all choices. So you have all these agents, they're logged into the queue, and these are choices of how you distribute the calls. You can ring all, you can have a random start and it just goes in a hunt group. You have a round robin, which I thought was like a restaurant.
It's Red Robin.
That's Red Robin.
Yeah, there was a difference. It's a sports thing, is it a round robin? Like 3 hours? Tournament, yeah. Longest waiting, least talk time, fewest answers. So you got somebody that's just like not answering the phone. You can send all the calls to them till they're not the person that's least answered. There's a lot of features here. I was going to say something else about this. There's a lot of statistics. There's like a real-time, they call it a wild board for queues that show like how average wait time, average drop calls.
Whisper feature.
Oh yeah, the whisper feature. So if you're like managing a call group or training somebody as a manager, you can listen in on a call between an agent and a customer. They have something Earl mentioned called whisper mode. This is where you as a manager can speak to your agent in their handset, but the outside person doesn't hear. So you want to coach them, you know, cover this, or ask them this, whatever. It's like a private conversation while they're talking. Hey, Mark, didn't even see you sneak in. Anyway, so it's pretty powerful. That is called queues. Rainbow's called queues. Hot desking is sort of a newer feature. This is if you have like a job share kind of situation where you have a desk with a computer and a phone, or just the phone and the desk. But maybe on Monday somebody sits there, on Tuesday somebody else sits there. It's shared there. They can each have, if it makes sense for your business model, they can have their own extension. It's kind of like their computer. They log in with their username and password. With the phone, they log in with their name and password, and it has their voicemail and their relevant stuff.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
I think it might be interesting for people. The IVR setup. Can you use a company? Who was it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is, you guys, if you hire me to set up a system for you, you might not want my voice answering the phone for you. And some of my offices, they want somebody that sounds like real professional, but they don't feel like any of their staff is. So there's people that do this for a business, they're voice actors, and like the woman whose voice that you would recognize because she's in like some of these major companies' phone systems, you can hire her, you know, for like $200, and you can get a bunch of phrases or greetings recorded, and she'll do it. There's a whole range of them. Like on what I did just for fun. Oh, here it is. I lost my phone.
It won't work though.
That's true. Well, I'll use the real cell phone.
Connected to mobile device.
Thank you. Well, just dialing. Don't hear anything.
You on the right phone system?
I'm on my cell phone. There.
You have reached Alan Miller Computer Consulting, provider of outsourced IT services and...
So this is a website where you just type out some stuff and they have a machine that generates a voice for you and gives you a WAV file. So that's the other end of the spectrum. And in the middle, there's other options. Like there's a website that I just learned about. It's called, and you guys may know about it, it's called Fiverr. And so this is like freelancers for just all kinds of different skills. And there's voice actors on there. So for like $25, you can go out. Huh?
Or $5.
Or $5. You can go hire somebody that has, you know, quote, professional sounding voice to be the greeting and do the messages on your system.
Is the text-to-speech free?
I don't remember. I think it might have been up to, you know, a certain limit. If it wasn't free, it was very expensive. So let's finish here. Let's eat. I'll be happy to answer questions while we're eating. If you guys want to sit down and talk some more afterward, we can do that. Just whatever. So thanks for your attention up to this point.
I'd like to add
Jolly Roger Telephone Company sends me an email, and it's got the both sides of the audio of this call. If it's a real person that didn't go to the robot and they leave a voice message, then I get that as well. But you get this entertainment in there. So I have some of these that I've saved along the way. I don't have these in any particular order, but I'll see if I can find one or two.
some of the ones on the web are pretty good too.
Oh, so yeah, if you go to this website, you can listen to it. Now also they have some that they call BizBots. These are more designed for business. So you imagine like you have someone that's your receptionist or the phone answerer or the assistant to the boss, and these calls come to her or him, and you hire somebody for this job that has a pleasant personality because you want them to put a nice face on your business. But sometimes they're dealing with telemarketers that just are annoying. You know, they're pushy, you know, and they're pushing against somebody that doesn't like to push back. So this is the answer to them. You tell your assistants, okay, when you get these calls, forward this number, just say I'm transferring you to the department that takes care of these things. So you get somebody that answers and says, oh, you know, I'm here to take your message from my boss, give me your information, I'm going to send it to them in a text message, and then they'll take your call. So then the person starts talking and talking and talking, and then this robot will say, oh, I'm sorry, this isn't my regular job, and I can't type very well. Can you start over from the beginning? And these people will start over. Some of these things, honest to God, go on for 10 or 15 minutes, these recordings. So let me see. And I've gotten the call from like Windows technical support that have gone to this. Yeah, I don't know if it's because of this or not, but I get much fewer of all these annoying calls now. This says BizBot, so I'll try it.
Hello? Yeah?
Correct. Well, we need
Hello? Reception, how can I help you?
Yes, my name is Mark Gomez. I'm calling from IoT Computer Services. Well, I'm speaking with Alan. All right. Well, Alan, I'm calling from IoT Computer Services. And I was just
Her name is Alan.
to offer managed IT services to your clients.
Hello, can you speak up a little bit?
Her name is Alan.
Mine.
Her name is.
I just went out.
Yeah, can you repeat it?
So why are you calling?
My name is Mark Gomez from IT Security Services. Well, Alan, just trying to find out if you guys still offer managed IT services.
Fine.
I'm
I'm sorry, I'm not really the receptionist. I'm just filling in here. And so you're gonna have to go a little more slowly. See, the way we do things here is like you tell me the stuff and then I have to type it into like a text and then I send it to whomever. Like, who is it you're trying to get a hold of? Do you have an extension for them?
No, actually, I have your Alan Mueller.
Hello? Hello? A little louder? Oh.
Yes.
Suddenly a whole bunch of people walked into the office. Hello? Okay. Guys! I'm on the phone! Hello? I'm trying to answer the phone. Okay, I'm sorry, you're going to have to start all over again. I just accidentally erased this accent.
Well, I'm trying to reach Alan Mueller.
The way we do things here, you tell me what you're trying to tell us or do with us, and I take a message and I type it into a text and then I send it to whoever.
Oh yeah, again, my name is Mark Gomez. I'm calling from.
You probably got the guy fired.
Security Services.
No, I'm supposed to type it in. Tell me what it is that you need, and I'll type it into the text. And I have to tell you, I'm not the real receptionist, so you're gonna have to go.
All right, so you guys get the idea. Some of these, like, if you go listen on the website, yeah, like it's the call center in India. You know, these guys pretty abusive. And after like 10 minutes, these guys start getting really obscene and just cursing and saying really, I mean, I wouldn't even say it here to you guys, bad stuff, because they think they're talking to a real person that's playing them. They still haven't figured out they're talking to a machine. They're just hysterical. So that's the Jolly Roger telephone company. Now, just to tell you, in case you think you might want to try this, there is a financial commitment, and I get no part of this. The regular service that, like I'm using with my cell phone, you do it on a monthly basis, it's $2 a month. If you're willing to prepay for the year, it's $6 for the year. So that, you can have all that fun for almost nothing. And get rid of all these annoying calls. You can use this on landlines in your home if you still have these. Bell and Spectrum have an option most people know about. It's called simultaneous ring. I mean, 3CX has simultaneous ring. Basically, for people to say, you know, their friends call them at their home line, but they're out and they have on their cell phone, but they don't. Not everybody has their cell phone number. They can program their cell phone number into simultaneous ring with their home line. Well, what you do is, if you sign up with Jolly Roger, you don't pair it with your cell phone, you pair it with his service, so he answers the call. And in that situation, you just train yourself not to answer on the first ring. Because the caller ID comes with the first ring, or between the first and second ring. And if he gets a match from the telemarketer lookup, he'll just take the call, he'll grab it, and your phone will stop ringing. So that's what you guys missed if you weren't here. The guys that were here, you've heard it twice now, so thanks for bearing with me.
I didn't know about that simultaneous ring.
I'll probably have to throw a card into this video with the link to the Jolly Roger video I took here earlier. I put it up.
It's online. Walter recorded it. Well, you can go look up TED Talks. Put it, John Wise, your telephone company, on his website. He'll have a link to this TED Talk.
Walter, you're posting ours on a CiNPA Facebook page, is that right?
I'm just putting them on my own YouTube account right now until you guys give me a place to actually put them on the Facebook page.
We don't have like a official place yet.
We got to get something like that.
Anyway, what questions can I answer?
What did you, I had started to do this a few years ago, and you gave a very nice presentation. Thank you for doing it again. What has changed, or what is different from what I saw a couple years ago to today? Because it looks like you're using some of the same.
Hold on. I have an answer for that.
You have some of the same providers and that kind of stuff, but if you, I'm not saying just like features have changed, but what are you using differently than you might have told us some time ago?
The change log.
There's the change log. Do I know what changed since then? What's differently?
No, I'm not talking about necessarily the program itself. I'm talking about like who you buy SIP lines through and what you do, how much.
Well, years ago I was using a different provider than Vitality. I started talking about some other features that they have. I didn't really finish that. And I mentioned they have a fax solution. Really, it's completely separate from PBX, but still, a lot of customers still need fax, so it's nice to be able to not leave them hanging for that. A lot of my customers, not all, but some of them really like this feature that Vitality has, which I call SMS-enabled DIDs. So, you know, in the traditional world, you send a text message to a business phone number, it just like disappears. Well, we have some people, like not in my generation, but like the following generation, that they live more off a cell phone, a mobile phone, and if they get a call from a number, they just assume they can text back to it. So this takes care of that. So if somebody sends a text, and like for myself, I saw that they had it as a feature, and I figured out, you know, I would never use this. I don't need it, but I just turned it on, and then I forgot about it. I didn't tell anybody about it. And I get 3 or 4 messages that were initiated as a text message to my business phone number that I would never have gotten otherwise. And this is like without telling people to use it. It comes to me as an email, and you know, I can tell from the presentation, the format, what the origin was, that it was a text message. And I don't have to do anything special. I can just type a reply like I would, hit send, and it goes back to them, and it looks to them like it came from a mobile device. You know, I've customers like in service industry where they have field people are out going to clients and stuff doing work, or medical, like dentists and stuff like this. I mean, you can initiate messages to your customers from your email client if you know their mobile number, and it'll be received to them as a text message. So, yeah.
The one thing I ran across that is I've had customers send multimedia messages, like here's a picture of my error message on my screen. They don't go through. You don't get that error message.
Presently, it's text only.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a feature that not all, but a lot of my customers like a lot, and they use that. That's newer for me. As far as, you know, if you're looking for a SIP service, you know, some things to be aware of is, well, it's fewer now, but it used to be that a lot of them did not offer 911 service. You know, if you're putting this in for production for a business, you really need to address that. So be aware that your provider has that.
Vitality provider.
Oh, yeah.
And 3CX has the fields to fill that in?
Yes.
When you're using your cell phone as your soft phone for 3CX, will it use the geolocation of your cell phone?
Of course not. It's going to figure in the office.
All right, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Don't make an emergency call using the app.
One is a pain in the butt.
It costs too much. It's a business emergency.
I'd have to think about more to see.
One thing I think that's kind of neat is the ability to, like, if you have a customer who has maybe they're, you know, I have one customer who goes into winter hours, and during their winter hours, they want to have operations, but they don't want to be in the office area. They can have a phone sit in their house.
All right.
You
can have remote phones. So like I got a customer of mine, he's got a house in Arizona. He spends part-time in it. So I just set him up with a phone system here. And I know next month he's going out there for a while. I said, you know, you can have a desk phone. I mean, he was looking at the mobile app. I said, you can have a desk phone out there and it operates the same as if you're here. And so I said, okay, give me one. So I just ordered that. I mean, you got your guy in Cleveland. We just set him up with a desk phone.
Yeah, he's got a desk phone, and what I think is cool is the SBC, the Session Board Controller, runs on the Raspberry Pi.
All right, let me talk about
Wow. Come on.
Yeah,
let me talk about that. So, I'll call it the older model was you have a on-premises PBX, could be on a physical machine or a virtual machine, and your phones are in the building, so they all talk over the LAN. There's no real issue in terms of traversing LANs. So now you have a scenario like in this guy's case, he's got a phone server on premises, but we want to have to put a phone out in the field, remote, so it's on a different network. So now for voice, you know, you got to manage certain things with the communication for this to work. And so with in 3CX terminology, I can show you the screen here. When you define an extension and a phone on an extension. So here's the extension I created. All I defined on here was a soft phone. But say I wanted to add a phone. So there's a lot of brands of phones that work with 3CX. I mostly sell a brand called Yealink. So you go in here, pick add, and you go find your brand and model. So there's Astra, Cisco, Fandol. So Yealink, of course, at the bottom, just pick a phone.
They support Astra now?
Limited.
Yeah, limited. Very limited. That's what I have.
Put in a MAC address. I did that right. Now we're in here. So this first choice here under IP phone provisioning method says local LAN in the office. There's other choices here, and they're both for the remote scenario. So one that says direct SIP, and then it says stun. So basically in this scenario, the phone is programmed or provisioned. So stun is a system whereby kind of like the phone has a stun registered, stun server defined to it. Like you would program something for a DNS server. It's got a stun server. The job of the stun server is just to receive a ping from the phone and say, oh, here's the public IP address this guy's coming from. And I'm going to send it back to the phone so he knows what his public IP address. That's what stun does. Okay? So then the phone also has the FQDN or the IP address of where his home-based server is. And so he sends his communication to there and says, by the way, here's my public IP address so you know how to get back to me. Now, there's certain things you have to do for this to work. You have to manage the firewall in the remote location because this voice traffic is coming in. It needs to know what device to send it to. So, you know, when he sends the message out to the PBX, he's got his private IP address. No, his public IP address going. There's a router. It's taking care of stuff. Anyway, because you can have a scenario where you have more than one phone at this remote location, you have to have a way to handle the traffic. So if I say stun here, I go down here. Now I have to tell it a couple of SIP port. That's a single number. This other RTP. This is a range of ports. These have to be unique for each phone in that remote location. So you have to, in your firewall, you have to first of all set a static IP address on each phone. In the firewall, you have to route the right ports to the right device. So this means you have to have some control over the remote location. That's one set of sort of conditions or features, facets, whatever. Also, this communication is going to now be unencrypted. There's no method, provision in the phone to encrypt the communication. So that's one way of doing it. Now we're getting to what Eric brought up. The other choice is called STUN, or not STUN, SBC, which stands for Session Border Controller. So think of proxy. This is at the remote location. It's just a software app that runs, and it can run on a Windows computer, or now there's Linux version, and it can run on a Raspberry Pi. In this situation, you're not using STUN. The Pi, or the SBC, is communicating with the home base, and the home base knows where to send the traffic to. The Pi, the phones get the IP address not of the home base, but of where the Pi is in its local LAN. So it's all internal traffic. And the Pi, when it communicates with the home office, encrypts everything.
So it's the remote server.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, just for a very specialized function.
Right.
Also, if you do, like I'm at the remote office, but we have like a number of other people here, and I'm calling somebody, you know, in the office next to me on their cell phone. If I'm using a STUN, my call, communication is going out of the public internet to the home office, and then back to the guy next to me. So it's using bandwidth, and that's happening. If you're using the Pi, there's no communication other than the initial call setup, just the handshaking. The media, the communication is just in the local LAN, or the remote LAN, just locally to the remote LAN. And what I've learned from our groups, and we got some guys that are much more knowledgeable of the Pis than me, but they kind of got me interested, so now I've learned a little bit of Debian, and however you say it, and some tools, so that probably in the last month I've sent out 10 Pis to customers' remote locations, and I've got them sent up where I can, all they have to do is plug it into their LAN. I've got an interface where I can access them remotely. I can bring up a GUI if I need to. Like to log into a phone, sometimes you have to tweak some settings. You need a web browser, so I can do this all remote, and it's a beautiful thing.
That's what I was just wondering. When you're connecting to the SBC, say in Phoenix, for this guy, does that SBC then provision the phone locally?
Okay, so here's what happens.
And can you manage it from the
Here's what happens.
Yeah.
The SBC needs to know, it needs a static IP address on that LAN. Okay, so once it gets installed using DHCP, you know, I can query and see what the LAN is. I can set a static IP for that subnet. The configuration of the SBC software has in it some things like the FQDN of the host server. And in terminology of 3CX, if you go into somewhere settings, and then security, this thing called 3CX tunnel. This is a secure link that you have to tell the Pi what that password is.
Put that little thing that unhides.
There it is. Got it?
We got the video of it.
It's not going to be clear
It's
enough.
not going to get used. This is going away. So anyway, okay. Once I get the SBC, I get the static IP set, I get the SBC program.
What's the tunnel set?
I reboot the Pi, and then I ask the customer to reboot the phone. In an ideal world, and this works for me almost all the time, this is like a plug and play, they call it, a list of known devices. So on this screen, even though this guy's, you know, across the country or across the world, I'll see a line show up here for this device. It'll have
The phone or the SBC or both?
No, for the phone. And it'll under, here, maybe I can show you some. These have, well, this guy's got a couple. Okay, so these are known devices, and they're in, I'll call this not bold, the text, the font, okay? If a new device shows up, it will be at the top of this list, it will be in bold, but it won't have a name, an extension number showing up, okay? And up here you see I have a choice to assign it to an existing extension, if that's what makes sense, or I can add it to a new extension. And when I do that, it will get the information to fill in the name and the extension number that it's been assigned to. Now, if it's a remote device and it's through SBC, it will show up there, and over here in this IP column, instead of having one IP address, it'll have two. It'll be like an IP address of the SBC, and then it'll say SBC, and then next to it, it will say the IP of the phone. And I think if I scroll down to this list, we'll see some of those. There. So before I assigned them to extension, they were at the top of the list, and they were in bold, and I just knew I had to assign them. So that's because of multicast and broadcasting. This stuff communicates through the PI back to the server.
Do the phones need static IP addresses then?
No.
Once the SBC's in place?
Only the SBC.
Only SBC does.
So the ones that are red and not supported, those are phones that...
That's
a different brand of phone?
That's the firmware is out of date.
Okay.
So, and in the case that's like a second home for the business owners in Florida. They just haven't been down there for a while. And we had them, I think, set up on Stun, and they have a PI that's going down next time, so this is going to
fix this
change. So this gives you some information. I mean, thanks for bringing that up. Actually, a couple things like that can be unsupported. Over here where it says model, and this is obviously a model phone, that tells 3CX what fields, the boxes to populate in the phone to get its information down to the phone. In the earlier days, there were things that all of my customers wanted to be different than what 3CX gave me the ability to do. Like 3CX, the company is in Cyprus, okay? A lot of the world uses what we call military time, but we don't, except if you're in the military. So you're on, their default is you're on a 24-hour clock. And so in the US, that doesn't play well. People don't like it. So just recently, 3CX, through the standard templates, give you an option of which type of time format to show. So before they started doing that, you can customize the templates if you know how to get down into it and accomplish it, some of the things in the old days that they didn't do for you. But when you did that under model, it showed like T48, and I said, customized, and the whole line was in red, okay? And so what that helps 3CX do is if they're doing remote support, tell you, we don't support this. Because we don't support customized templates because it's so prone to breaking everything if you don't know what you're doing. And they can't tell if you know what you're doing or not, so they don't support it. Well, the nice thing is in a recent update, they've expanded the number of features that I used to have to do through customized programming and I no longer have to do. So you get more black now, trying to make all the red go away, just to better support customers. There's another page which this may show it, may not, I don't know. That, like if you have a bad PIN or bad password, I think it'll show up in red. I don't know. 3CX, I don't know if somebody asked this before, but if not, I'll answer it anyway. If you get into running this, 3CX has here, it says automatic backups. It has a backup module that's part of the management console. And you can set it up to backup daily at a given time. What it does, obviously does not make an image of the whole machine. It creates a zip file, which is a bunch of config files all tacked together. That basically is all you need to rebuild the whole machine. It could be a couple hundred. Or it could be, yeah, this one could be 100 megabytes. I was trying to get the decimal right. But this one, it could be easily a couple hundred megabytes.
The voice recordings, all your recordings too.
It can include the voicemails. Here's a freebie for you, by the way. If you just configure this to do the backups, and you make a backup, you say, okay, I want to uninstall this and reinstall it, whatever. Part of the uninstall process is really, well, no, it's just uninstall. You go into Windows programs, you uninstall. Well, guess what? 3CX, when you uninstall, erases all the folders that it created, including the default location for your backups. Jeez. Okay. So I strongly recommend
not using the default.
Right. And so I just always, oh, didn't want to do that.
Delete all our backups.
Let me redo this.
Are you still on someone else's site right now, on the live site?
Yeah, I am.
If you are, I just want to remind you.
So there's a place here that says location, and so I just make it something off the root. Now, there's other options here besides local, and you can say FTP or Google Drive. So just be aware of that. I'm going to tell you something else.
It also only does like 7 days.
Pardon?
7 days. Right. It only does a 7-day cycle on backups. Starts overwriting.
Oh, you set a number of what your retention is. I don't know if there's a limit. Let me see if I can do this again without screwing it up again. Down at the bottom, it says configure backup rotation. How many do you want? You probably can't see it. I'm up to 23. I'm going to click cancel. So you can set the number of rotation that you want.
So really, you've got the last 24 backups available all at once.
If you want, yeah, just put the sequence number on them. Increments them each day. Deletes the oldest one. So you can, if you're using this in a higher stress type of environment, I mean, you can set this up for failover. You can run 2 servers, and there's a procedure. You have to use, I think, the enterprise license to do that. So you can have like on, ready spare, warm spare, whatever it's called.
Seems like they're kind of tied into Google. Some of these things mention Google Drive, Google Server. Is there other choices, or just stay in Google kind of type?
Well, Google is a choice there. I mean, that's it for the backup. You
Seems like they're kind of connected to Google a couple of places along here. Google is kind of one of the choices of things, so versus others. So
that's what they're using now. There was also a choice for FTP. So if you have FTP server, you can do whatever you want.
On their website, there were a couple of different cloud server places that are mentioned besides Google.
Yeah, you can host it on, host the PBX itself on others, but that was just for the backup function. That was the only choice they were giving you. And it works fine. I don't use it for mine, but it's just because I started in the earlier days when they didn't have it, the cloud backup built in, so I was just doing it on my own. What else can we talk about? We don't, I mean, if you guys want, oh, it's 9 o'clock, we gotta go. Never mind. Well, guys, thank you, everybody. I thought it was gonna be about 15 minutes.
You didn't even get into the web meeting and
Oh my gosh.
all the other stuff, man.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to get into this more, like one-on-one or something, I love talking about this. Just look me up and we get together.
Listen to Jolly Roger. Call me.
Hey, if we want
Thank you, Walter.
If we want to leave
or
you,
George, or whoever you.
Alan, if we want to leave you